No one likes desperation, whether it's in a job, friendship, and especially not in relationships. Desperation is such a major turnoff. But here's the tricky part. Sometimes desperation sneaks up on us. He seems sweet, attentive, and always there when you really need him. But is he really interested in you, or is he just desperate for a relationship? Today, I want to break down like 8 signs, quite a bit, that he's more desperate to have a relationship than anything else. And if you've been feeling like he's a little bit too eager or a little too fast or like he's pushing you into something before you're actually ready, keep watching because I'm going to break down what you really need to know, what you need to watch out for, and why it's so important to recognize those signs. So, all right, let's get into this. Number one, he wants you to move way too fast, way too quickly, way too far. One of the first signs that someone is kind of desperate for a relationship is how quickly they want to lock things down. You've barely been seeing each other, and maybe just for a couple of weeks, and suddenly he's already talking about how you'll be like together forever. Maybe he's making like these promises, bringing up future plans, like moving in together, or even casually throwing out like, I love you. Way too soon, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes love moves very fast, I understand. But if he's rushing things at a pace that feels uncomfortable or kind of a little bit forced, that's something you really pay attention to. Psychologically speaking, this behavior comes from fear from being alone, fear of missing out, or simply a lack of emotional maturity. He's more focused on the idea of being in a relationship than actually nurturing a healthy connection with you. For example, he might start planning vacations together or introducing you to his family within the first week or two, like super, super early. And while these things sound super sweet, they're often like a tactic to lock you down before you've even had time to really evaluate the relationship and really get to know him.
Ladies, stop chasing men. Even when he pulls back or loses interest, or you feel like he's slipping away from you, what you do in that moment can make all the difference between him feeling like you just like all the other women he's ever met, or it can make him realize and feel you're so unique and special, and exactly the type of woman he wants something real with. Something he wants to build with, causing him to chase you, to invest in you, and prove to you that he is the right man for you. You know, there's this 12-word text message that you can send to a man that gets his attention almost immediately and makes him realize that it was a mistake to pull away from you in the first place. If you want to find out what that 12-word text message is, then I highly recommend you check out this brand new video that I created for you. I linked it in the description below. Just click the link, and now let's go back to the video.
The second sign, he's always available. No matter what, he's gonna make time for you in all moments. This one can feel flattering at first. He's always texting, he's always calling, he's always available for spontaneous hangouts. You think like, wow, he really likes me. But then it starts to feel a little, maybe let's say too much. He's always around, he's always available, and always putting you first in a way that doesn't leave any room for you to breathe anymore. This kind of over availability is often rooted in insecurity or desperation. He's trying to lock you in by being the guy who's always there, even if you're not asking for that level of attention. It's about seeking constant reassurance. Someone desperate for a relationship, well, they often overcompensate by being like too available, filling up all of your free time with his presence to make sure you don't forget about him. If this is happening, it's time to take a step back and again, just ask yourself, does this really feel healthy here right now? Or am I being rushed into something that I'm actually not really ready for? The third point, he's talking about both of you as we too soon. This one can feel a little bit subtle, but super telling too. But sudden, you're still getting to know each other, but suddenly he's already referring to the relationship as we. For instance, we should go to this movie, or we're going to have so much fun at the barbecue next month, or here or there. It might seem sweet, but it's actually a sign that he's trying to lock you in the idea of the future together before you've even had a chance to figure out whether you want the same future. This is called premature commitment. It happens when someone is so desperate for connection that they start pushing the boundaries of what's appropriate for the stage of the relationship that you guys are in. He's jumping ahead of time without really understanding your wants, your needs, your desires, your goals, and also being able to properly express his. Besides this idea of like, all right, let's have a relationship right now. The fourth one, he kind of puts his life on hold for you. He cancels plans with friends, skips on work events, or drops everything he was doing just to spend time with you. This sounds romantic, right? But there's a fine line between thoughtful and obsessive. A guy who's desperate for a relationship often puts his life on hold to make you the center of the universe. He rearranges his entire schedule around you, shows up unannounced, and constantly seeks your validation for the choices he is making. This behavior is often driven by a lack of confidence and an unhealthy need to prove his worth. He's trying to get your attention by showing you that you're his number one priority, but at the cost of his own life. In all these areas of his life, right? Work, friends, relationship, family, doesn't matter, all of it. The reality is, someone serious about you will respect your independence and encourages you to maintain your social circle, your passions, and your goals, rather than you trying to abandon those so you can spend a lot of time with him all the time. The fifth sign, he overshares very early on. This one might be a little bit tricky too, because at first it kind of seemed like he's really open and vulnerable. He's telling you about his past relationships, his childhood, or his deepest fears within the first few dates, maybe even. But if he's oversharing way too much too soon, it's likely a sign that he's desperate for a deeper connection validation, which actually is not necessarily a bad thing, but you still want to be emotionally a little bit more intelligent, like when is the right time to share these things, right? This is a little bit of an attempt to fast track intimacy. He's hoping that in opening up to you so early, he'll create more of an emotional bond quickly. Also quite beautiful, but again, is at the right time, at the right place with the right connection. And this behavior doesn't really give you the space to build that connection naturally, organically. So it can feel quite overwhelming and may even leave you wondering if he's truly ready for a relationship because, too much too early too soon, it's like, maybe a little bit too much pressure here too. So he might just try to also put you into this void that he's feeling inside. And you start questioning that. The sixth point, he's constantly reassuring you. Have you ever had a guy who tells you over and over again how much he likes you, how special you are, how lucky it is to have you around in his life? While those things are great to hear and beautiful, constant reassuring can also be a sign of insecurity. When a man is desperate for a relationship, he often tries to convince you of how amazing you are in the hopes that you'll reciprocate and you kind of fill this void that he's feeling inside. This can happen in the form of constant compliments, over the top affection, or reassuring you that he's not going anywhere, even if you haven't expressed any doubts. This kind of behavior stems from a lack of emotional stability, internal emotional stability. It's not coming from a place of genuine connection, but from a place of neediness. And no one likes needy people. A healthy relationship doesn't require constant validation to thrive in. It grows naturally from mutual respect and mutual trust. All right, the seventh point. He gets upset if you need space. Space is healthy in a relationship. It gives both partners the time that they need to recharge and focus on their own lives, not just the relationship itself. But for a man who's desperate for a relationship, needing space can feel like a rejection. It's almost like too much. Why do you need space? It's so beautiful. I give you everything that you need. Like, come on, be closer. Like, you want to be with me, right? He might text you nonstop or starts making you feel guilty for needing time to yourself. Why don't you want to hang out tonight? We're doing so well. Why don't you just come over? This behavior stems from this unhealthy need to be constantly emotionally fed. It's about trying to maintain a constant connection because he's afraid of being alone or that you'll be away completely very soon. All right, let's talk about the eighth point. He talks about the future way too soon. You know, you've barely got past the getting to know each other phase. And maybe you're actually still in it, and he's already talking about the marriage, the kids, the white picket fence, the like how life is going to be like in the next 10, 20, 50 years. Well, it's totally fine to discuss your future and what you really want out of the relationship and where you want this to go and lead, which makes totally sense because this is how your line is like, okay, are we on the same page here? Someone who's desperate for a relationship will fast forward to those big life moments without actually giving you the time and space to decide if you actually want those things with him too. This is a way to anchor you to him. This is what men usually use also to hook you in. It's usually the idea of this future to create a sense of security for himself, but also in this false sense of like this future for you, so you guys can like basically start picturing this together. So yeah, those are the 8 signs that will really show you if someone is desperate for a relationship and doesn't really recognize what is a healthy, long-lasting relationship and how do you build this in like that it needs to be on mutual trust, respect, and emotional security, not on desperation. So if you're seeing these signs, again, maybe you need to evaluate, okay, is this really about love over here, or is this about the need for him to fill an emotional void that he's experiencing? Trust your instincts, and remember, you deserve someone who's really ready for this kind of connection that both of you are looking for, and someone who's, truly interested in getting to know you and not trying to force you into something. Have you been with a guy like this? Yeah? Then drop it in the comments. Would love to hear how this was going and ultimately if this actually ended up in a relationship and like how long it was a beautiful relationship and one you've potentially also realized, oh my God, this was actually built on the wrong foundation in the first place. And as always, like this video, comment in the comment section, and subscribe to this channel. We're posting multiple times a week and we want to do more of it, and that's super, super helpful for us.